All right, everybody, forget what went down during week one. We're on to week two. The Giants are heading down to the nation's capital, or the Chocolate City, as some people call it, to take on a Washington franchise that it's owned the last 5 matchups. Big Blue, welcome back to another episode of the Blue Rush Preview Show. We're breaking down this Giants-Commanders game for you guys. And when I say we, you guys know longtime Giants beat writer for the Post, Paul Schwartz. He joins us now. Paul, we've got a great show lined up for the people. We went to the locker room and we got some interviews from rookie safety Tyler Nubin, wideout Jalin Hyatt talked to me about staying ready for his opportunity, and right tackle Jermaine Eluemunor breaks down how the offensive line can be better this week. Plus, for Know Your Enemy, former Commanders corner Fred Smoot. And that should put a smile on a lot of people's faces, hops on to break it down from a Washington point of view. Paul, have you officially flushed week one down the commode yet?
You know what? That was you needed some heavy-duty plumbing to get that thing out of your system, right? But yeah, look, you have to. It's too early in the season. You know, late in the season, sometimes you're just looking forward to the end. It's too early in the season. You got to move on. There's a division game coming up. You know, I don't want to sound like a coach or anything, but you know, you just have to. I mean, you know, everyone has to. I mean, like, you know, I know that the coaches don't like it when reporters keep on asking them about last week. And sometimes we have to, but then sometimes I get it. We're moving on because that's what the coaches do, right? You've been in those rooms. Yep. You watch the film, you break down, you take your lumps, and then you come back Wednesday and it's bang. And you know, guys like Daniel Jones who are in the building on Tuesday, they're right ahead to the next game against the Commanders. So, you know, you have to. And look, it's very easy to get that one in the rearview mirror because it was such a stinker.
Absolutely. As a player, you can't wait for that Wednesday warm-up for practice because you got the music blaring. You've already got the install. You've done a couple walkthroughs or two. And now you know it's time to just put that that last game officially to sleep. It's time to get on to a week two, a bounce-back week. You gave us a little bit of the Coach Schwartz talk. Now it's time to put on your media hat again. Let's start with some of the storylines. What's your most important, or would you say will be the most talked about storyline this week heading into week two?
Well, I think there's two things, you know, and look, it's, you know, I'm going to go with the obvious, right? You know, if you know, someone throws a fastball down the middle, you just got to take a swing at it. It's the quarterbacks, starting with Daniel Jones. Look, I mean, it was not all on Daniel Jones, but there was enough of it on Daniel Jones in that opener. Here I am, back to talking about the opener, right? But look, going into this is a huge week for Daniel Jones. He's 3-1 at FedEx Field. Now it's called Northwest Stadium. I think 5-1 overall against the Commanders, so he's had success against this team. And look, he's got to be a lot better. He's got to be a lot better. And the other storyline is Jayden Daniels, the guy who the Giants were willing and wanted to trade up for to get, and they didn't. And he's with the Commanders, and he's their franchise quarterback now. But you know, Daniel Jones, Brian Daboll, you know, didn't come out and rip him by any chance, but I thought this week he was very forceful, Brian Daboll, with what he said. And he said, you have to be able to persevere through things, let your passion show, have competitive stamina. And then this was the money line, Brandon. Mental toughness is a real thing. And it's right. Where all eyes are on Daniel Jones. Does he have the mental toughness? He was bad in the opener. He was making bad throws, bad decisions, and just physically, I know in the building, the Giants were alarmed that there was a regression they saw in this game that they did not expect. They were not ready for that, you know, and so that has to be shaken out of his game. So that's really important. Daniel Jones says all the right things. He says, I have a thick skin. You know, there are fans following him in the parking lot, going to his car. The fans were booing him. Look, the Commanders fans are going to be booing them. There'll be enough Giants fans there. My question is, the Giants fans who make the trip, are they going to be booing Daniel Jones or cheering Daniel Jones? You know, it's gotta change, or else this goes from ugly to really ugly really fast.
Yeah, we talk about get back and get right games. What other franchise or what other team would Daniel Jones want to try and get right and get back against? The Commanders, I mean, I don't think he's lost a game to them in, 4 to 5 games. He's pretty much owned this franchise. Rookie year in 2019, he throws for somewhat around 400 or 500 yards, 5 touchdowns. Daniel Jones has had success with this team. So don't think about the fact that the Giants were the only team in week 1 to be held to single-digit scoring. Don't think about the fact that since signing that contract extension in March of 2023, he's thrown 2 touchdown passes compared to 3 pick sixes and 7 starts. Don't think about the fact that you saw, if you watch Hard Knocks, you know that Brian Daboll was all about trading up for Jayden Daniels. When you go into this head-to-head against a rookie quarterback that could have came and competed and possibly taken your job, just remember, you've aired this team out before. Go to Brian Daboll, tell him, all right, I got whatever jitters, whatever it was that was in me, that thing is gone. We flushed that thing down the commode. Now get ready for this head-to-head. And I'm hoping, Paul, that they add a little bit more dynamic to the offense when it comes to getting extra receivers out there, getting out of 12 personnel, 1 running back, 2 tight ends. I love Daniel Bellinger, love Theo Johnson, but I also love Wan'Dale Robinson and Jalin Hyatt a lot more in terms of being weapons and opening and creating space within the passing offense for a quarterback who struggled last week but has had success against the franchise that he's playing this next week.
Yeah, I talked to Brian Baldinger this week. We had a big back page story in the Post, and talking to some other coaches and analysts about what happened with Daniel Jones. And Brian Baldinger made up a good a theory anyway, and it goes in what you just mentioned about Hard Knocks. And look, Joe Schoen was sitting there with assistant general manager Brandon Brown. Brian Daboll was there, and he said, "So are we good to try to trade up to get him?" And Brian Daboll said, Daniels, yes. We also know they wanted more realistically to try to get Drake May. So that's out there, right? That's out there in the ether. Just like if we hear a credible report, the New York Post wanted to replace Paul Schwartz as the beat writer, but they couldn't get it. Our podcast and SNY was looking to replace and wanted to replace Brandon London, but it just didn't work out. Okay, now how does that go in your head, right? You know it. You got to be a tough guy, mental toughness. We get that. That's in your head. So Brian Baldinger wondered, is this in on Daniel Jones's head that he knows the organization, right? I mean, look, he knows the organization tried to replace you. You know that. And look, if they were able to trade up, Daniel Jones is under contract for this year. He starts, they give him a quick hook, and that rookie is in there. We know that. It's the end of Daniel Jones with the Giants. So that's in his head. There's a lot of stuff he has to overcome. This is the team, as you said, that he has gotten healthy for in the past. But as players told me, I asked Dexter Lawrence about all the success they've had in Washington. He said, you know what? They're a new team. We're a new team. We can't lean on that. They can't lean on that. They can't. This is not a powerhouse they're playing against, but they're not going in with 7 or 8 or 10 points, on their favor. So, they all have to get a lot better. The offense, defense, Kayvon, Burns, they all have to get a lot better. That's all there is to it.
Well, first off, if you told me that the Post was looking to replace me on Blue Rush, I'm like, man, I got cut again. Dang, man, the Giants, Dolphins, Steelers, I got released. Now the Post, I just can't get right. On the other side of that, Paul, if I'm the player, I want to know that you're going out, that you're looking for another quarterback. I want to see that. Now I know where I stand. He now knows where he stands within the fan base, where he's 1 interception away from being booed. He's 1 interception away from being followed to his car and being heckled. Now you know what ownership thinks. And they probably, it's nothing about Daniel Jones, the person. It's just Daniel Jones, the avatar, the quarterback for the New York Giants franchise. No love lost there. It's just like if you're dating someone, I wanted to know if you're seeing other guys, you're going on other dates, you're going to Nobu, you're going to Tao. Because if I'm not going to be the guy, then I need to know so I can start, I can play better, so I can be a little bit more attractive on the dating apps to other suitors out there.
Well, Brandon, because you got to stop taking her to Wendy's and Burger King, okay? And then maybe the person taking them to Tao and Nobu, you got to, right? It's like, so we said about, you got to pick up your game, right? In dating, in life, in football, Daniel Jones has got to pick up his game. That's all there is to it. It's not all on him. And I think it'll be fascinating this week to see what Brian Daboll does. You mentioned, maybe, take a tight end off the field. Look, he knows he's dealing with a quarterback who's a little fractured right now. And so, not physically, but emotionally and mentally. So now it's up to the coach, right? The coach has got to be that psychiatrist and psychologist and that guy that says, okay, how do I help my quarterback here? And this game plan, I don't think Brian Daboll's game plan against Brian Flores last week was very good. They were chasing goats. They were chasing ghosts a lot of time, expecting pressure. They had too many guys in to pass protect, and they weren't coming. They were back in coverage. Once that happens, you've already lost. So, okay, it's on Brian Daboll too now, right? Attack this. You'll get into. What do you think of the Commanders' defensive backfield that Daniel Jones potentially can attack here?
Air them out. So basically, what you're saying, Brian Daboll has to be Hitch, and Daniel Jones is Albert Brenneman in the movie Hitch. You got to talk him up and get that confidence going, because you're going against easy buckets when we talk about the Washington Commanders defensive secondary. They've benched their first-round draft pick from 2023, Emmanuel Forbes. St. Juice was giving it up against Mike Evans, who, yes, he is a future Hall of Famer, but he attacks the 50-50 ball like a Malik Nabers can if you give him that opportunity. So there's going to be opportunity for Daniel Jones to have success, but the offensive line has to play better, Paul, because like you said, and I'm not trying to say it like, oh, here goes another year of the offensive line not being good. I thought they played a lot better than what they looked like in years past. Andrew Thomas had an NFL best pass blocking grade of 91.4 per PFF. The Giants' run blocking grade, though, in week 1 was an NFL worst, 43.3. If these teams are going to sit in 2 high safeties and eliminate that deep ball, they're asking you, they're begging you, they're telling you, you're going to have to run the ball down our throats. You're going to have to take that safety to where he was close to the line last year with Saquon. You're going to have to make us move that safety down and put him in the box to throw us out of 2 high safeties. And they didn't do it last week within the run game, Paul.
You know what? But look, you also have to look at how is this offensive line designed, right? You know what I mean? There's not road graders on that offensive line. John Runyon is a better pass blocker than he is a run blocker. That's all there is to it. Andrew Thomas can do both. I mean, he's irrelevant. He's really good. John Michael Schmitz is kind of an undersized center. He's not a bulldozer. He is not. Greg Van Roten is not a bulldozer. He's a better pass blocker than he is a run blocker, and I would say the same for Jermaine Eluemunor in a lot of ways. So this offensive line was built to protect the quarterback and kind of play off that with some misdirection and things and do what they can in the running game. And so maybe asking them to just, put their heads down and plow guys off the line is not fair. But look, they're going to have to do a lot better. They're going to have to do a lot better. I get it. Saquon, do you imagine what Saquon was thinking watching that game? You know what I mean? I mean, because they played on Friday and saying, yeah, I've been there, done that, dude, right? Been there, done that. Now, Devin Singletary was not hitting the backfield too often, but there was nowhere to run.
Yeah.
It was not good. But yes, I mean, this. Brian Daboll wants to be a pass-first offense, but this cannot be a pass-only offense. And look, you're exactly right. If they prove that they can't run the ball, they have no chance because they can't. I don't care about Malik Nabers and Hyatt and Slayton. Hopefully Slayton can play this week. He's in concussion protocol, and Wan'Dale Robinson. I don't care about any of those guys. If they can't run the ball, they're not going to be able to pass their way out of it. They're just not going to be able to.
Yeah, offensive line pass blocking rate was a 72.3. That was 14th in the NFL. Again, that to me kind of that verifies the fact what I say, Paul. Take the 2 tight ends out, bring in 2 more receivers, and go 4 wide. You can throw hitches, you can throw quick game, and that can be an extension on the run of the run. Another storyline, or I guess player, who's been all over my timeline on social media. Kayvon Thibodeau, you got a chance to talk to him, Paul. What's Kayvon saying about going up against the Commanders team where he, like Daniel Jones, has had a lot of success against in the past?
He has. Didn't he have a trifecta against them, right?
Yep. The OC trifecta. Yep.
The OC trifecta, yes. The OC trifecta, yes. A quarterback hit, forced fumble. No, well, it's a fumble, forced fumble, fumble recovery, touchdown, bang.
Yep.
You know, it's the triple crown for a defensive player. Look, Kayvon needs to be better. He almost pitched a shutout. He had over 40 snaps in that game, no tackles. Okay, one quarterback hit, no sacks, obviously, no tackles. I mean, that can't happen. It just can't happen. And I asked him about it, and after the game, he was not great. He was a little defensive after the game. He wasn't defensive enough in the game. He was a little defensive after the game. But I asked him on Wednesday about this. I talked to him alone, and he said, early in the year, it's kind of easy to think a lot. And he said, I think I was thinking a lot. He just thought himself out of the game. He said, I built some not great habits and, about not finishing on the quarterback, not wrapping up against the running back. And he's got to get back to playing his game plan fast and free and not thinking so much. So, take that for what it's worth. But, it's a big year for Saquon. It's not a contract year, but in effect it is, because after year 3, Dexter Lawrence got paid in this with this franchise, and Andrew Thomas got paid, and he's a first-round pick. He wants to get paid after this year. So, not a great start. Brian Burns was quiet on the other side. He had 4 tackles, I think, wasn't really near the quarterback. So, it's on everybody, not just, Daniel Jones doesn't play defense, but Kayvon is a thinker. And I think sometimes when you look at him, he does outthink himself, and he's, I have to set the edge and I can't do this and I can't do that, instead of kind of, I got to do everything. I got to set the edge, and then I got to make the tackle. And, if that's got to be Superman, I got to be Superman without trying to be Superman and not setting the edge and having Jayden Daniels run by it for 50 yards because he's got that blazing speed. Kayvon also mentioned to me that Jayden Daniels runs a 4.3. You know what I mean? These guys know what a 4.3 is, and they know they don't run a 4.3. So, we better stay in front of him or else he's running behind us.
Yeah, it's going to be all about angles. The angles in the pass rush, the angles when you kind of retrace your steps, and then the angles where when you're trying to beat him to a point and he's trying to beat you to the edge, you can't run to where he's running. You got to run to where you can't run to where he's ran. You got to run to where he's running. And luckily for Kayvon, that after all this is kind of blown up on social media, he gets to play the Washington Commanders because of his 15.5 career sacks, 5.5 have come against the Commanders. So now there's a chance for you to make some plays, get the trifecta again. You can do the Victor Cruz salsa, which I hope he worked on during the offseason. But at the end of the day, Paul, he nor Brian Burns or any pass rusher is going to get the opportunities that they want to get a pure sack on Jayden Daniels unless they stop the Commanders' run. They were running. You get to run it. You get to run it. Austin Eckler, Brian Robinson, Jayden Daniels. They are going to run the ball to, 1, take some of the pressure off of the young quarterback. 2, because they want to establish some sort of rhythm. I don't know if that's going to be the thing going up against this Giants secondary, but when it comes to this Giants defensive line, who obviously Dexter Lawrence had a 92.6 overall grade and a 92.3 pass rush grade, which was one of both the NFL highs amongst interior defenders. But stretch the ball to the outside, run at the Kayvons, run at the Brian Burns. They're going to have to put Jayden Daniels in second and longs. And I said this about Sam Darnold, but you're going to have to do it this week for sure. You're going to have to put him in some second and longs, stop that run, because this is what the Washington Commanders want to do with their offense, Paul.
Yeah, look, you got to keep him in the pocket. I mean, the more you look now, you don't say that when you playing against Eli Manning or Tom Brady or Peyton Manning. I mean, you really say that about Patrick Mahomes also. He can do everything, but you really want to keep him in the pocket, because once he starts running around and improvising, it's a problem. You want to keep Jayden Daniels in the pocket because, they were very conservative with their passing game, very conservative. They don't want to make mistakes, and he didn't make big mistakes. He didn't throw any interceptions. Kudos to him. He didn't lose them the game, but he certainly, look, Austin Eckler, if you're a fantasy football, player, you got to take him because he's a great pass receiver out of the backfield, and that's a young quarterback safety valve's best friend. He's going to dump it. And the key is also when he is getting out of the pocket, the Deonte Bankses and the Adoree Jacksons and the Drew Phillips and all those guys, Nubin and Pinnock, have to play honest and keep their eyes up, because what's going to kill you in this game is not 10 plays, 75 yards. I don't think it's going to be you coming up. Jayden Daniels looks like it's going to run. He throws it over the head, to McLaurin for 40, 50 yards. I mean, that can happen. You need to keep everything in front of you and make him take the ball down the field. Now, Sam Darnold did that. He did that on a 99-yard drive, and that was discouraging to the Giants. But Darnold, for all his flaws, is a veteran. He's seen it before. Daniels has not. I remember talking, and I wrote this in the New York Post. I talked to Justin Tuck after, I think it was 2012, after the first game the Giants played against RG3, Robert Griffin III, okay? The Giants won the game, and Tuck had a sack. Tuck was sitting in his locker. He looked like he was 100 years old. He actually was 29. He was 100 years old, and he said, it takes your heart out to want to play this game, to have to go against a guy like that. They had won the game. And he said, I am so upset with the NFL gods for putting this guy in the NFC East, so I have to play against this guy twice a year. I have to play against this guy twice a year. And you can make a great play and he just runs past you. I don't want to be chasing this guy twice a year for the rest of my career. Now, as it turned out, he didn't have to. RG3, after 3 years, was gone from Washington, got hurt, was never the player that they thought he was, even though he was a great rookie. Now you have Jayden Daniels, like RG3, number 2 pick in a draft, like RG3, former Heisman Trophy winner. And I was wondering, and I asked Dexter Lawrence this, I wonder what you're going to be saying after your first game against Jayden Daniels. Are you going to be sitting back and saying, I got to play against this guy for the rest of my career? So look, it can happen, but the key is win the game. Okay, win the game, and then talk about how Jayden Daniels is the bitch to go against. Win the game first.
Yeah, it's a must-win game on both sides. It's a get-right game for Daniel Jones, Kayvon Thibodeau, but also for the coaches. Dan Quinn has never lost a game to the Giants as either an NFL defensive coordinator or a head coach, and the Giants haven't lost to the Commanders in the Brian Daboll era. He's 3-0-1, so the Giants are looking to avoid their first 0-2 start in the Daboll era. There's just so much going on with this game, Paul. It's hard to sleep at night. Let's go into the locker room, or take the fans into the locker room, because Paul and I were at Wednesday's practice, and I caught up with Tyler Nubin, Jalin Hyatt, and Jermaine Eluemunor in this week's London in the Locker Room.
Before the Giants square off against the Commanders on Sunday, I'm in the locker room with the Giants safety Tyler Nubin. Before we talk about Sunday, tell me your initial thoughts after your first NFL game and your first play in general.
It felt good out there, for real, man. I was waiting for it to feel different, but it was just regular football. So it gives me confidence that I belong. But we still got work to do. Obviously, we're not happy with the result, but ready to keep building on it.
Everyone talks about preseason and training camp, how they think starters should play more. But the younger guys, you guys played throughout the season. Do you think that kind of prepared you for week one in terms of the amount of reps you got throughout the preseason games?
Yeah, for sure, 100%, man. It definitely got me ready. Got me ready to go. With the speed of the game and everything like that. Obviously it was just a little bit faster out there with those guys there. But definitely did get me ready for sure.
All right, we're going into a new week. You guys just had the pads on today at your Wednesday practice. Kind of what's the vibe within the locker room, and what was the energy like, not only throughout warm-ups, throughout today's practice?
It was good. We excited, ready to move on, bro. It's a long season. We know one game don't define us, so we excited to get back to work, get back on that field for real.
All right, Jayden Daniels, you go from Sam Darnold to Jayden Daniels. Mm-hmm. Like, what's some of the things about Jayden Daniels that he was doing right against the Buccaneers this past Sunday?
Crazy athlete, man. He can run all over the field. He can run all over the defense. So we're gonna have to keep him bottled up. You can't discount his arm. He can still throw. He's got real great arm strength, good accuracy. So he's gonna be a handful.
All right, Jalin, take us into practice today, man. What were the vibes like?
Yeah, vibes was high. Vibes was good. We're gonna continue to keep getting better. We got a big opponent ahead of us, and the Commanders. So for us to go out there, get ready, prepared, and we're going to be ready this week.
You think anyone's feeling the pressure, or is it something where it's just continue to prepare the way you guys prepare, trust the process type situation?
Yeah, no pressure. That was week 1. It's a long season, and now it's just we're moving on. Moving on to the Commanders, and we're going to be ready.
Week 1, long season. Probably didn't get as many reps as you would probably like. Have they come to you and kind of told you why? And then 2, have they told you how much you could be involved in the offense this week 2 matchup against the Commanders?
Yeah, I mean, this is the NFL, so, it goes week by week. And I'm going to be prepared. I'm going to be prepared for the Commanders, be ready when my number's called. And, they have a lot of confidence in me, so I got to go out there and prove it.
You went up against the Dan Quinn defense last year with the Cowboys. What's the difference like in terms of defensive schemes that you're going to see this week as opposed to week 1?
Yeah, they play physical, with his defense when he was with the Cowboys. A lot of split safeties, and we got to be prepared, when our number's called, and be ready to execute. At the end of the day, we just got to execute. We got to execute our plays, and keep getting drives and scoring the red zone. Those are going to be our biggest emphasis to do.
I'm here in the locker room with Giants right tackle Jermaine Eluemunor. Jermaine, we're going into week 2 now, Wednesday practice. Kind of talk to me how the guys are feeling. What's the vibes like in the locker room and today out at practice?
Obviously, after a loss, people are going to be down a little bit, but it's the jobs of the older people in the locker room and the leaders to really bring people along and show them, hey, it's 1 week. Things are going to happen in games. Sometimes you're going to lose games, but it's how you respond that really defines the team and your character and who you are as a person and a player. So this week is really about getting back on track and getting started, because obviously we didn't get started against the Vikings, so we need to get started against the Commanders this week.
Looking at this Commanders front 7 as opposed to the Vikings front 7s, what challenges do the Commanders front 7 kind of pose? Like, what are you getting ready for?
They're really athletic. Their 2D tackles, Payne and Jonathan Allen, are really good players. They have 2 young guys on the edge who are really good players also, and Klee and 92, and so we need to go out there and set the tone, and they're probably thinking the same thing because they're coming off a loss also. So in order to control the game, it's to control the line of scrimmage. So I'm sure both teams are thinking, if we control the line of scrimmage, then most likely we're going to win the game. So that's the mindset: control the line of scrimmage and really dominate up front, and that's the game plan every single week. And we need to practice how we're going to play in the game, and that's the biggest thing.
Obviously, all eyes are going to be on the run game with the departure of Saquon Barkley. He gets NFC Offensive Player of the Week. How do you guys get Motor Singletary going? How do you create the big plays within the run game to take some pressure off of Daniel Jones in the pass game?
Yeah, I think obviously it's just us executing. We need to double better. We need to get our run fits better, and we need to give Motor, Tracy, Eric the goat lanes that they need to get big gains and stay in front of the sticks, not behind. If we're behind the chains, and obviously we're not doing our job correctly, so that's the biggest thing: stay in front of the chains, get Motor going, and just dominate the O-line, the D-line. That's the biggest thing. If you dominate the D-line, then shoot, you can run whatever you want to do. So that's our plan this week.
All right, standard locker room talk after a week 1 loss. Paul, you were in the locker room as well. What vibe did you get from the guys?
I got a vibe that they were there, which is good. Sometimes they're not there. Brandon, you've been in a locker room, right? Yep. I got to go lift. I got to get treatment. I'll be right back. You know what I mean? Where's Brandon? Oh, I don't see him in his locker. Oh, he must be getting treatment. You guys, guys are not around. Guys were around. Jalin Hyatt, who was very disappointed. Obviously, he got 1 target, which he dropped. He had 16 snaps. Didn't play much at all. Left the locker room, quickly after the game. Was in the locker room, willing and ready to talk about it. Obviously, Daniel Jones on a Wednesday is always going to talk, and Daniel Jones faces it like a man. He just does. He answers the questions. Kayvon Thibodeau, as I mentioned, got a little snippy after the game. Was at his locker making some jokes, and then okay. You want to come talk to me? Let's talk and let's analyze it. Malik Nabers in the locker room. He was talking to people he needed to talk to. So that was good. That was good that they were all there. I think the vibes were fine. I think vibes sometimes are hard to tell. It's too early in the season for bad vibes, and I think the vibes were fine. So now they got to go out and do it. They just got to go out and do it.
Giants players had their own remix of RELAX, relax. Now they just got to go on and win this game. You guys have heard from Paul and I. You've heard from the players. Let's get longtime Commanders corner Fred Smoot's thoughts on this Week 2 must-win game for both teams in this week's Know Your Enemy. Representing Mississippi State Bulldogs, Hines Community College, and the Washington Commanders. Joining us for Know Your Enemy is Fred Smoot. Smoot's in the building. What's up, my guy? How you feeling?
I'm good, brother, man. We both 0-1 right now, but we know this. Somebody's going to lead that game with a victory.
I don't know. But the way both teams played last time, it might end in a tie. You know, a tie, we all go home with a half smile, half frown. Smoot, we got Giants, longtime Giants beat writer for the Post, Paul Schwartz, with us, joining us, man. Covered you. Paul, say what's up to Fred. Fred, say what's up to Paul, man.
Fred,
how you doing?
Good. Fred, you know, for people like you who provided us with a lot of content and a lot of quotes and a lot of smack talk, and, you know, when you went to your locker after a Giants-Redskins game back then, it wasn't going to be, I don't know, no comment, you know, he's a good player, all this stuff. I gotta ask you right now, okay, because Chad Ochocinco called you the best trash talker he ever played against, okay? So now, you're going up against Malik Nabers, let's say, right? You know, highly touted rookie in his second NFL game. What's your plan of attack up here against him? You know, how do you attack a guy? Do you go right at him right away? Do you let him set up the game? What do you do?
Well, first of all, I kill him softly with the truth, because the truth hurts more than anything. So I go to Malik Nabers before the game. I pat him on his side, and I say, you know what? I hope you got some pockets in them pants, because you can put your hands in them for the rest of the game, because it ain't about you. It's about Daniel Jones. My beef is not with you, all right? It's with Daniel Jones. So long as that's who throwing you the ball, I got a chance to dance on you, man. We're gonna make this dance 2 times a year. See, that's the great thing about it. Like, me and Santana Moss was talking about this the other day. The cornerback, I need my defensive line to give me help. But a wide receiver, if your quarterback is not good, you don't have a chance to be great in this league. I'm just sorry. You don't have a chance to showcase your talent. So you're very dependent on one man in one position to showcase your talent. Whereas a corner, I'm kind of by myself, and I'm kind of self-dependent, so I can dictate what goes on back there.
So when we talk about the Commanders secondary, they kind of gave it up last week against the Bucks. Is there a corner on that team that can have the confidence like a Fred Smoot and go up to a Malik Nabers or a Jalin Hyatt and let them know, hey, I'm going to be up on you all day?
Well, don't forget, we did play against an offense that's been together for a couple of years. We did play against a future Hall of Famer in Mike Evans. We did play against one of the best slot receivers in Chris Godwin in the league. All right, so Cade Otton at tight end. You're talking about a very formidable offense when you talk about the Tampa Bay Bucks. But, yeah, I think we got some corners, and I'm going to give them this. I'm going to give them grace period. That was the first game they ever lined up in a Joe Witt defense, all right? They only have 65 to 75 snaps in a Joe Witt defense, all right? Now, if you come back in Week 5 and ask me this question, then I have a more clear answer. But for now, we're literally putting this thing together. We understand our calendar. We understand where we are at. This is a new era of Washington football. We have a new owner, new GM, new head coach, new quarterback. We're at ground zero right now. We understand that.
You know, it's interesting because you just mentioned, you know, you would go up against a rookie receiver and say, basically, you can't throw it to yourself. Do you think Daniel Jones can get it to him? I mean, you know, you weren't disrespecting Malik Nabers there. It sounded like you don't have a lot of high regard for Daniel Jones.
Well, the thing about Daniel Jones is confidence, all right? And that's the same thing going on with Emmanuel Forbes. It's similar to baseball. When Aaron Judge get in the batter's box and he got the yips in the whole month of April, and then he comes out in May and hits like 23 bombs. Like, so that's what it is. Like, sometimes you need to see the ball go over the gate. You need to see the ball go through the hoop. And I think that's what Emmanuel Forbes needs, and I think that's what Daniel Jones needs. And I'll be honest with y'all. For some reason, Daniel Jones turns into Michael Vick when he plays against us. All right, he feels good playing in Washington, and we usually his get-back game. So now we want to get over that giant hump that we haven't got over when it comes to the Giants, because the Giants has had our number for the last, I think, 8 games or so.
I love the pun you put up in there, and I'm going to raise you one. So do you think, on the flip side, Jayden Daniels can command this Washington offense and have the confidence that you're talking about to attack this Giants defense, who kind of wasn't up to par against Sam Darnold last week in Week 1?
Yeah, I think he can. I think the thing about Jayden is, when everything breaks down, he's going to depend on his legs. And that's something we haven't had here for a long time, a quarterback that can get out there and get those 3rd and 5, they're throwing and set 3rd and 7s when the play has broken down. And see, the thing I want Jayden to take it to a next level at, I want him to escape the pocket. I don't want to take that away from you, but now I want you to escape to throw the ball, all right? Not to initially run. I think when he adds that 3rd layer to his game, he will become unstoppable in this league, because there's no throw he can't make and there's no guy he cannot outrun. But I want him to lead the pocket in a throwing manner, not a running manner, and now he becomes a triple threat. All right, he can throw the ball, he can run the ball, but now if you run to pass, now you become in that Patrick Mahomes type aura of, now I can beat you any way I want to.
Yeah, he didn't have a completion to one of the receivers over 15 yards, but that was Week 1, rookie quarterback. What else have you seen from Jayden Daniels? Like, is he the guy down there? Does all of the Chocolate City, are they rallying behind Jayden Daniels?
We rallying behind him, man. The one thing I think really blown us away about Jayden is, as talented as he is, it's the person. It's the feet on the ground. It's him acknowledging who he is and knowing how to take the temperature in the room. It's him wanting to earn the fans' respect. It's him wanting to earn his teams make respect. It's how he demands the huddle. I think the person, the leader, is sticking out. The guy's in there 4:30 in the morning. He's the last guy to leave. He understands the process. As long as the guy understands the process, sky's the limit. You know, like I said, the talent here, you don't make it to the NFL and become the second pick if you don't have talent. The talent is there. What really blown us away in this area is Jayden Daniels, the person. I think the person is everything.
You know, you what did you run when you came out of college? What did you run in the 40?
4.37.
Jayden's 4.3, isn't he? I mean, I think he's a legit 4.3.
I think he is, but he has this bone stride and he has this glide to him. A la Randall Cunningham, he reminds me of once he leaves the pocket and he gets to going. And it's very Randy Moss-like, where he runs so effortless, you don't know that he's really chewing up as much land as he's chewing up. So he's one of those guys. I think he can be as fast as he needs to be.
16 rushes for 88 yards against the Bucs. A lot of those runs weren't by design. Like you said, Smoot, like he's scrambling, and he's going to be even more dangerous when he adds the throwing element to the scramble, being mobile enough, not being a mobile quarterback, just mobile enough to buy some time. We're going up against, or the Giants secondary is going up against Terry McLaurin. How does Terry kind of manage his expectations in terms of his workload and his targets as Jayden Daniels gets more confident as a pure passer in this league?
Well, that's the great thing about Terry. Terry has seen the dumps of quarterback. He's dealt with so much in the quarterback room that he just happened to have a mainstay. He happened to have somebody that he can actually get on the same page with. And Terry understands it's not going to happen in week 1. The one thing that I did love that Jayden Daniels did last week, he went on the road against a Vita Vea defense, Antoine Whitfield defense. That's a very underrated defense, and he turned the ball over 0 times. To do that as a rookie says a lot. It says he did not try to force Terry the ball. He did not throw into windows that he couldn't get the ball in. So that says everything. If you can keep that ball clean, you give us a chance to win every game. And I think Terry understands that. That's what I love about Terry. It's not an ounce of diva in Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin just wants to win, and I think that's everything.
The Giants have, were looking for another cornerback. They tried to take one in the draft. They didn't. They ended up taking a safety. They have Deontay Banks. A week before the season start, they re-signed Adoree Jackson, right, who had not been in any training camp. Yeah. He said he was working out with a speed high school coach on a high school field. And then he plays a bunch of snaps in the opener. I mean, Was that a recipe for disaster? Could you imagine, have you ever not played in the whole summer and then bang, go out there and cover these guys?
First of all, it's different between being in gym shape and football shape. Football shape is a whole different shape, and we can't run from training camp. We can't run from reps at practice if we're trying to get back in that shape. Even the first game of the year with somebody that had a full camp, still out there breathing hard on the 50th or 60th play because you're still not in game shape. So I'm shocked that they even put him out there because we signed Noah Brown 3 days before, the situation. We refused to play him because we understood that he's probably, don't know the playbook. Two, not in that game shape that we want him in right now. So it's unbelievable that they did that, but I understand if you think he can add to it. And plus, Adoree was there last year. So I think they're taking that into accountability that this is not a guy off the street. This is a guy that was on our team last year, played a lot of reps for us. How about we just throw him back into the fold? But I'm shocked he didn't get out there and pull a muscle chasing Justin Jefferson and the rest of those guys. So, hey, hats off to him. I don't know if I could have did it.
Shoot, Fred, I pulled one just watching. What do you, on the flip side of it, Giants corner Tay Banks is a Maryland guy. What do you think of him? Do you think that the Giants secondary is kind of a question mark going into this game?
I love Banks, man. I love the fact that he's frisky. He's frisky. He likes to mix it up. He's not a scared. And you know what? One thing I say about when I know a corner can play in this league, when he's not afraid to take on any challenge. All right? Win, lose, or draw. See, this is what you got to understand about cornerbacks. We're not wired like everybody else. Don't even trust the cornerback, because the one thing about cornerbacks, we lie, we cheat, we steal. All right? So don't take us to church with you. And that's what I love about this kid is he embraces all of that. He embraces the fact that I play a position of failure, but I'm going to get you more than you get me. And that's the mentality you need to have. Y'all got a good one up there. Y'all should thank Maryland for that.
You mentioned earlier about the new quarterback, the new owner. I mean, is that a feeling now? It's not FedEx Field anymore, right? It's got a new name, right? Yeah. Northwest Stadium, same, and I know there are plans for a new stadium. Does it feel like it's not a new franchise, that there's a breath of fresh air that was badly needed? Do you feel that down there?
Oh, we feel everything. The fan base is on fire. Just think about it. That first game in Tampa, I think the crowd was 50-50. We finally invaded somebody else's stadium and took over. Like, this fan base has been down so long, and it's been this reason they ain't like us. We wasn't winning. The owner wasn't doing this. The new ownership has came in and changed everything from the practice facility to the stadium to every experience for the fans. So, yes, it's very new. Not only is it very new, the black cloud is gone from over the franchise. When I say a fresh start, this is about fresh as you get. This is going to the garden, picking it out yourself, going in there, washing it up in the sink, and making you some dinner. This is, I've never seen this fan base this excited. The only thing I can compare it to is Coach Gibbs coming back for Gibbs 2.0. When that really changed a lot of stuff and really had the fan base believing in the team again. But right now the fan base believing not only the team, they believe in the ownership, they believe in the GM, they believe in the head coach. So yes, it's a new world order here in Washington. And y'all should be very afraid of that in New York right now.
Fred, what you got going on, man? Tell us what's next for Fred Smoot. Where can we find you? Social media, TV, all that.
Well, you can find me everywhere, all right? The thing about it is I still work for the team. I still do all the media for the team. Meet Santana Moss, London Fletcher, Logan Paulson. You can catch us on our Command Center show that you can catch on YouTube. You can catch my podcast, Get Loud, that's also on YouTube and any other Apple and any other streaming services. We have several shows. That's why I told you, it's a new world around here. We got so many new shiny toys, and they letting me play with them all. So anything that has to do with entertainment, TV, radio, you can catch young Fred Smoot on it, and baby, I'm gonna be talking.
Oh, Fred, man, this was fun, man. Paul, you said it was going to be fun, Paul. You definitely didn't disappoint, man. Thanks for hopping on with us, and we'll see you Sunday at the game, man.
All right, see y'all at the game, man.
Thanks, Fred.
Fred Smoot. First and foremost, thank you to him for coming on. Paul, did you understand what he was saying with that Southern accent, that Southern drawl?
Look, I can barely understand you sometimes with that little thing you got, little twang you got going on there, right? Look, Smoot he's one of those guys. I remember talking to Philadelphia 76ers writers long ago when Charles Barkley was playing there. And I said, man, it must be great covering Charles Barkley every day. And they said, great, it's a nightmare. You never know what the hell he's going to say at all hours of the night. You know what I mean? This is before Twitter, mind you. But Smoot was the kind of guy, when you're covering the Giants, when you're covering the league, you always had to go to his locker or send someone to his locker afterwards, because if he played well, you were going to hear it. He was going to trash talk the other team, so you had to hear what he had to say. And if he played poorly, he was going to give you some lip also about something else. So, as you can tell, He's got the gift of gab. There's no question about it.
Yes, he does. And I'm glad he blessed the vodcast, because that's definitely something there is going to go viral. Absolutely has to. All right, Paul, we set the game plan. We gave the people the information they need for this Week 2 matchup. Now let's get your final point. It's time for Paul's final point. Let's go, baby.
Look, what do they say? A team improves the most from Week 1 to Week 2. Well, the Giants better hope that's true. They have to improve a lot. Look, this is the second year in a row they just did not look ready, especially on offense, to come out and compete and play at the level you need to for an NFL regular season game. Now, last year, I don't want to keep on looking back, they were abysmal in losing, 20-0 in Arizona. That means it was 60-0 after the 40-0 loss in the opener to the Cowboys, and you start thinking, holy smokes, this is worse than anyone could have feared. And then they have a great comeback fueled by who? Daniel Jones in the second half. He was lights out. They win the game. They're 1-1 now. That was not a springboard to a good season. We know that, but it's week to week right now. And you're 0-1. You got to figure out a way to be 1-1. And so this is a opponent that they can beat. It's opponent that they're probably better than roster-wise. I mean, I know some people think the Giants have the worst roster in the league. I think roster-wise they're better than the Commanders. Now they got to go that and show that, and they don't have to win 30-0. They have to figure out a way to leave there with one more point to the Commanders, and then they save it. They keep the ship afloat for 1 week, and that's all you worry about. I'm not worried about this being a great season. I'm worried about them trying to figure it out for 1 week, because 0-2 is really bad for every team. For this team, with the way the schedule was with the Vikings and the Commanders, it's really bad to worse. So they played at Cleveland after that. Cleveland doesn't look like world beaters, but a game on the road against Cleveland is no picnic. So, they just got to figure it out. Coaches, players, everybody, they got to figure it out. And, quarterback in the second start, Jayden Daniels, figure out a way to come out with one more point, and then they can all breathe a little easier.
Absolutely. I mean, you got to go into this game not worried about being pretty. You can't be pretty this game. You're going to come out. The jersey may have to be ripped. You might have to have some grass stains on your pants. You may have to throw those pants away. You got to be ready for a complete dogfight this game, because a Dan Quinn-led team is not going to back down and just roll over and give you a win just because. Again, that was the old Commanders coaching and ownership. This is something completely different. Paul, see these grays? It's just from covering this team, Paul. It's from covering this team. But I'm having
I wouldn't know about grays. I don't know. I wouldn't know about grays. I actually don't have gray hair. I put that in. I touch it up with gray to make me look a little older and more mature. So, that's where I'm coming from.
Nice. I love green screen. The things you can do with green screen. Thank you guys for watching the Blue Rush preview show. Make sure you keep an eye out on the New York Post sports social accounts on where and how you can watch the post-game show after the game. It could be a live stream. Stay locked in on Blue Rush throughout the season. Big ups to Fred Smoot and all the players who jumped on for the insight. For Paul Schwartz, I'm Brendan London. Thanks for watching Blue Rush.